Guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. Today we're over on our test account. Now earlier in the video we did today, we actually focused on the wish list priority heroes. We put them in formation, guys, making sure that the wish list was set. Now I'm going to go through and show you kind of the early game formation. So I did build a couple formations in here that are literally built off of the wish list that we had. So again, these are the wish list heroes that we chose in here. Lightbearers, we went in here with Hendrik, we went in with Rowan, Rosaline, Scarlet, and then I did put Palmer in here. Very strong formation, even based on a formation like this, guys. You're going to have Rowan in here for the healing, for the energy. I would probably put Scarlet in the top again for Rowan's potion, depending on how far you are. Palmer, of course, is going to rely or apply his healing ability, and don't, regardless of where the levels I have, Hendrik is going to be our main tank here, guys. If a hero takes fatal damage, he will actually prevent them. Rosaline is going to be going up to Scarlet. So if you're running essentially a full Lightbearer team, this is a very solid formation. You have 3 support, you have 1 damage, and then you do also have Hendrik. Variations of this to include just the Lightbearers. You could put Rain in here, you could do Estrilda, you could put Lucius. And again, this is very, very dependent on the heroes that you get, guys. When you start early game, it is really dependent. Mostly for the beginning, you're going to be making kind of a combination of the factions, which we're going to talk about in just a little bit. So that is the first formation. Second formation, we have Screg in here with Brutus. Brutus, I absolutely love, guys. Brutus, you really only need 1 copy of to be super effective within formations. Now, a lot of players do build out Skarath. Skarath and Rain are 2 heroes that you do kind of need to get built up a little bit, just for the simple fact that they have more utility as we get further into AFK Arena. But with that being said, there is going to be a point, guys, that you do want to build them later. Early game, effectively, Skarath, same with Rain. Without the furniture piece of it, they're not going to be super effective. So again, I like Brutus in the formations. I've done quite a few accounts. This is a pretty solid setup. You have Screg in here, you have Brutus, you have Entendre that, of course, is going to move in when we see the pushback of Screg. We also do have Brutus, who is going to have the immunity. With that immunity, you can move Anastar right in here. And then, of course, Kren is in the back, guys, providing not only a lot of damage, but also a lot of crowd control. You can also swap Anasta with Entendre, depending on the formations, even swapping them this way, guys. Most of the time, we run Brutus versus heavy damage because of the immunity shield he possesses. You can even swap Brutus in the top. And again, Brutus, literally having 1 copy of Brutus, especially early game, super important, guys, because he is the sponge when it comes to burst comps very early AFK Arena. Now, next one we look at is the Wilders. So Wilders, again, Mishka does very well early game. Nevi does very well. So does Peanut, because she does still possess the damage mitigation. Raku is one that does need to be a little bit built out. Same with Orin. Orin does need to be built out quite a bit, as well as getting a copy of Leica or getting a copy of Iran really makes a big difference, guys, because again, it is super dependent, and this is where the campaign kind of differs from other game modes. Campaign modes are super specific on the enemies that you're fighting. Same logic that you fall in with the Thor and Cheese, things of that nature. It is really dependent on the team you're fighting, on if and how the Thor and Cheese works. Now, again, getting a copy of Leica, getting a copy of Iran, very good. Some of the heroes like Saurus used to be priority, not really a priority, which is, again, why we've said that the newer accounts have a pretty significant advantage when you're going through and summoning heroes, because you're only summoning the heroes that are good at the current time. Now, looking at our final formation with our Graveborn heroes, I love Daimon, guys. Daimon is the absolute carry when you get early game, when you get mid game, even going into a little bit further, even going into late game, end game. Daimon still has utility, guys, still used in the Cursed Realm, but he is used in a lot of game modes. Honestly, early game, Daimon is the biggest priority. If you guys caught any of the power level account, Daimon was the carry through everything, which again, I'm going to show you a couple formations just based on the wish list. So this is kind of assuming, let's say you've made it through 8 chapters, 10 chapters. You've done some summons, you've gotten some of these heroes on the wish list. We do have Grez in here. Grez is a hero, guys, that you are going to build. Silas, Oden, and then of course Treznar, guys. Treznar does require a little bit of a build, but I've noticed that with him going on the enemy side, even if he goes over there and he dies relatively quick, you can buy more than enough time for Daimon to actually be successful. Now, in addition to the Graveborn, guys, Pharrell works very well early game if you pull a copy of Pharrell. Hodgkin also does, depending on where you have him built, but he does have some buffs, has some crowd controls, again, looking at our Graveborn formation. So now we get into the actual formation. Again, this will be your starting wish list. So let's say, again, theoretically, you have these 20 heroes to really play with. Formations early game, again, Daimon is a carry. Daimon is a hero that you're going to use and you're going to build up. You want to get that plus 20 signature item. You want to get that 9 of 9 furniture. Early game, mid game, I wouldn't engrave him. I would actually save my engraving mats for a different hero, but that is for another video at another time. Now, putting Daimon in the formation, you're going to want to build some support around him. And this is really the important part, guys, is a majority of the time, Daimon will not run in the front line by himself, as you see him right here. One of the biggest caveats, or one of the biggest heroes that helps Daimon out an incredible amount early game, is either running right here with Rowan or running Palmer. Both of them are going to work very well, even if you put Palmer again back in the middle because of his healing aura. Palmer is going to put the damage amplification on Daimon, allowing Daimon to do a lot more damage, which again, the buff is what you're looking to do. Now, in most of my Daimon formations, there's again, kind of one of two ways to run this. Either running this with more support heroes, so actually having the ability to support Daimon, to keep him alive, to get him to ult, getting that blood shield up, or you can provide some crowd control in here. And again, depending on really the heroes that you're building out, the methodology that you're going with this, Brutus is a very, very strong hero to have early game because again, Daimon is going to be the priority, guys. So stacking support around him, stacking on mitigation heroes on there, even stacking on heroes like Mishka, again, Nevi, support for Daimon. That is really what you want to build. Now, once upon a time, it was Ainz. Ainz was an absolute carry within AFK Arena. Ainz at this point has almost been completely and fully replaced. So even looking here, guys, if you have Silas, again, to keep Daimon alive, give him a little bit of boost immunity with the ultimate ability. You can also go the other route, like we were saying. Oden, very strong, guys. And of course, they're going to get some of the faction bonuses if you get 3 heroes in here. But Silas works well. Pharrell works well. Again, either you're going to go with more support for Daimon to keep Daimon alive, or you're going to go with crowd control. Both of them gives the ability for Daimon to scale, guys, which is really the big thing. Now, another thing within the formations, though, is not only the Daimon carry, is when it comes to the Awakened heroes. Now, this, guys, normally when you start making progression, when you get 10, 15, 20 chapters in, usually you have a couple Awakened heroes, at least one single copy of a few Awakened heroes at that point. So we see an incredible amount of success with like the Daimon formation, again, running a copy of Solus. Solus will still have the healing abilities, will not really have that much of the damage factor in there, but she will work incredibly well. Same with the Awakened version of Brutus. If you're lucky to get a copy of Brutus, if you're lucky to get a copy of Baden, these are heroes that will work exceptionally well early game, even when with one copy, guys. On the power level account, I got one copy of the Awakened version of Taylene. I was actually running Taylene up front, again, because of the factor that she comes back to life, with Daimon running in the back. And again, when we were running the power level account, we had Rowan right in the middle. I had Brutus, and this is what I actually ran for a considerable amount of time. Was kind of this setup formation, and then I put crowd control in here, guys. I was running, I believe, Pharrell within this comp for a little while. I did run Nara in the comp for a little while. Went kind of back and forth with a couple different heroes. And again, this formation is going to be very, very specific, built on the heroes you're fighting. So if I have a really big burst team in here, that is a good time to stack some of our crowd control to mitigate the burst, or is it going to be support to actually keep some of these heroes alive. I ran Rosaline for a while to actually follow Daimon. Worked incredibly well because she amplified the stats that Daimon possesses. But as of now, guys, it seems like Rowan is getting backseated a little bit. Still has a ton of utility, but again, we're seeing a lot more that a hero like Palmer is coming in. Now, in addition, guys, Daimon has the ability to survive, which is really one of the very, very big things when it comes to early game, guys. Daimon, again, very strong when it comes to the survival aspect in building out these formations. So again, looking at some of the boss fights, getting into, let's just start with the guild bosses. You have Scarlet, you have Rosaline, you have Palmer. Three very, very strong heroes that are going to do exceptionally well in that game mode. Even when it comes to having Grez in here, you start getting into the Temporal Rift, or excuse me, the Twisted Realm as you get a little bit further. You'll see the Twisted Realm, the Cursed Realm. You have Scarlet in here to do a primary amount of damage. Even early game when you're very limited to heroes, guys, Scarlet is going to be your go-to for pretty much everything damage-wise, amplified by Rosaline, amplified by Palmer. Even if you can do a burst amount of damage in some of these formations, it is going to work incredibly well in boss fights. In addition to boss fights, guys, Daimon does work well. He has a big survivability. So where you might have a combination of Scarlet that is getting burned out in, 20, 30, 40 seconds, Daimon can usually take the brunt of the damage and actually keep the entire team alive, which I love to see. Again, throwing in a hero like Grez is going to work. So ideally, again, thinking of boss formations, this is going to be a similar setup than what a lot of players are going to be running. So you'll have Rosaline actually follow Scarlet. You'll probably have either Rowan in here or you'll have Palmer in here, which again, for that damage amplification piece. And then depending on, again, if you're really building out Daimon, Daimon can work very well in this situation. You actually get the 3-2 faction bonus, works well. And again, early game, guys, it is super dependent on who you have built out, but you want to make sure that some of these heroes that you're not really over investing in at this game mode until you get to mid game, until you start getting to end game, is where the engraving really comes in. You start building out some of these signature items, you start getting some of the engraving mats. Make sure, again, early game that you're saving them for a couple of specific heroes. Looking at this formation, guys, Scarlet has always been the priority. Since Scarlet has been introduced, Scarlet is an absolute priority within AFK Arena. I'm still seeing a lot of utility. The only cautious aspect on that, guys, is it seems like the Awakened version of Belinda, and again, we kind of talked about this before, is kind of replacing some of the modes. But with that being said, guys, Scarlet is going to be the hero you're going to build because she is very easy to build. It is not the Awakened heroes that are going to take an incredible amount of time emblems, roughly 500 to 700 time emblems to get the hero done, guys. You can build Scarlet very, very cheap. But again, beginning early game, first thing you want to focus on, and the biggest thing you want to focus on, is getting Daimon even out of here, guys. Getting a copy of Daimon. Daimon is going to be the carry for a lot of AFK Arena, guys. He is going to be the go-to. Also, the other focus that I kind of wanted to go over, not just the formations, is when it comes to early game, you really want to focus, again, building Daimon, guys. Daimon is a big priority. You don't want to overbuild the heroes, but adding furniture on him, adding the signature item, definitely going to work. And as you can see, I have him built out in here on the test server. He was actually my carry on the power level account. I believe we went through 22 stages or 22 chapters relatively fast. We geared him up. You can see we did the tier 3, didn't do the tier 4 on him, but again, he is going to be the real carry, guys, as you continue through there. Now, when it comes to the Stargazer, again, early game, the first one you want to get is the Twins. The Twins still have the utility, unlike some other heroes. Twins, absolutely a big, big focus. Getting at least one copy of the Twins is going to amplify the damage that Scarlet is going to do in different formations. Can also work in some formations with Daimon, but as you get a little bit further, you're actually not going to be utilizing the Twins. When you get to the point of Stargazing, you are going to focus on Lucretia. So once you do get that one copy of the twins, Lucretia is going to be your first kind of all-in hero, guys. When you look at the signature item at a plus 30, when you look at the 9 of 9 furniture, when you look at the plus 60 engraving, she is really the first hero in AFK Arena that you're going to go all in. But at this point that you're building out Celestials and Hypogens, when you start getting Stargazer cards, you're going to be roughly probably 20 to 25 chapters in. But again, she will be kind of the first all-in hero that you have in AFK Arena. All right, guys, so that'll do it for today's video. Just wanted to kind of show you some of the formations to run early game, make it a little bit easier. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching.